Propertyology regards right now as a very exciting time for investing in Australian real estate. There are some fantastic opportunities that Propertyology can help you take advantage of before buyers re-emerge from their coronavirus cocoons. Propertyology has a national focus. Now more than ever, experience and knowledge are the most valuable currency. Propertyology has that in spades. To find out how Propertyology's multi-award-winning buyers agents can help you prosper, contact them now at propertyology.com.au.
Welcome to the Smart Property Investment Show with your host, Phil Tarrant.
Okay, everyone, Phil Tarrant here, host of the Smart Property Investment Show. Thanks for joining us today. A new innovation, a bit of something special here, a brand new show that I've created with someone I've known in real estate for many years, Tom Panos, auctioneer, trainer, coach to the real estate sector. Most knowledgeable person I know, I think, in terms of real estate. So we've joined forces to do a new weekly show, What's Making Headlines. This is your first installment. We chat about a whole bunch of different things, mainly based around the news of the last couple of days. Job keepers, fatal flaw, state government unveiling $440 billion in rent relief, plus a whole bunch of other things. Hope you enjoy it. Tune in now and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
So for everyone that's tuning in now, and I'm letting everyone that's watching this is going to be a regular segment. We're starting off with weekly. It's called What's Making Headlines. And Phil, I want you to introduce everyone to you, and I'd like you to tell people who you are and a little bit about the brands you represent.
Okay, nice one. Well, I'm not going to claim this idea, Tom. This is your idea, and we had a good chat over the Christmas period. We've known each other for many, many years. I think we've worked together probably for nearing a decade, I would say, and
Correct.
it's going to date us, mate. But you've worked with us across our business, Momentum Media, for many, many years. You've been a great speaker, a great motivator, a great educator across the real estate space, but also right across the mortgages and the financial service areas. So we got on well. I consider you a friend, but you're also a trusted colleague. Trusted colleague who is my turn-to guy if I need to know what's going on in real estate. So I'm for those of you that don't know me, my name's Phil Tarrant. I'm the executive editor of real estate here at Momentum Media. And for those of you who don't know Momentum Media, one of our brands is REB, so Real Estate Business, which includes a whole bunch of different things, including the REB Top 100 Agents ranking, which is the benchmark for excellence in real estate, the top 50 offices, women in real estate ranking, deal makers, the REB Awards. Our pedigree across real estate is considerable. We've been delivering realestatebusiness.com.au for over a decade now. So most of you will probably know of me or know of that brand in that regards. But here at Momentum Media, we work across about 20 other markets outside of real estate. One is property investment. Another one is the mortgage sector. We work across defense, aerospace, the whole aviation area, space as in rockets and satellites, financial planning, accounting, legal, insurance, the list goes on and on. But this is Tom's idea. We've known each other for many years. We regale in stories.
Yeah, so what inspired this is we wanted to work together, and then during COVID period, I was sitting there one night because I haven't been travelling, and I was watching TV with the family, and I heard Paul Murray on Sky say, so let's have a look at what's making news in tomorrow's papers. And then I know that every morning you've got the REB newsletter that hits real estate agents, that gets them informed on what's going on. You've got a big team, there's over 100 people. How many is 120 people in your organisation?
Yeah, we're a bit bigger than that. That's about 130, 140. So, and through COVID, we're trying to keep that team intact as well, right?
And you got a lot of journalists, so they're producing the REB newsletter every morning, which is basically telling people, here's the daily agenda in real estate. You've got one that's going out to mortgage brokers. You've got one going out to property investors. And we thought that's got they're all linked. Property, money, finance, investment, right? They all merge. And we thought that this is going to be a great conversation for us to be talking about what's making headlines. There is a possibility that we're going to be doing this on a daily basis down the track, where we're going to say what's making news tomorrow morning, giving people a 10-minute, 15-minute bite-sized chunk of the big topics. And Phil, we might move in. I want to ask you, JobKeeper's fatal flaw could hurt real estate the most. was an article that was in your REB title.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, what's that about?
Well, it's an interesting one. As you know, Tom, and I'm a big fan of the work you're doing across Real Estate Gym and also on Facebook. So in many ways, you're my conduit of information, and my job here at Momentum Media is, I sort of head up content across all our brands. So we're curators, we're aggregators, we're manufacturers of information. It's our job to get it right for our different industries. So when it comes to this particular story, JobKeeper's fatal flaw could hurt real estate the most. Now, this is a tough one for real estate right now, and real estate better than anyone, Tom. You're only as good as the work that you're doing right now and how that will translate into dollars in the door 2-3 months' time. So the big discussion in the real estate right now is that it's very difficult to show an immediate drop in revenue in April, right? It's a very, very tough thing to do. What the consideration is what's my revenue going to be like in June, July, and August if I'm not actually out there being able to list properties, show properties, get buyers fired up, a decrease in the market, buyer activity is down. So the real estate sector is really concerned about what is it 3 to 6 to 9 to 12 months down the path, not the immediacy right now of the JobKeeper. So real estate agents are trying to register for this JobKeeper allowance to try and keep their teams intact, but they can't show the revenue decrease. So this is what this story is all about. How are you seeing it, mate?
Yeah, it's an interesting issue because for most businesses across Australia and New Zealand and most places in the world, you pretty much do the deal there and then, and you actually know where you stand there and then. But that's not the case in real estate because we know that the way the model works is you speak to someone today that might list with you in 3 months' time, that might actually sell 2 months after that. And then once it's sold, you're going to wait 6 weeks till you get paid. So the truth is people's bank accounts are going to look pretty good in April and most likely in May as well. Where there's going to be a concern, and for poor offices there could be carnage, is there's going to be a cash issue in June and July, right? And I think that is what the government's going to need to understand about the Australian real estate remuneration system. You list, you sell, and then you don't get paid for 2 months. And we're hoping that the government understands that the real pain is not going to be showed up in people's BAS returns because they are using the BAS returns as a proof point. It's not going to show up for the numbers in March and April. It's going to show up afterwards because from what I can tell at the moment, Phil, there's not a hell of a lot of listings and sales being done in April and May.
No, absolutely not. And therein lies a dichotomy for leaders in real estate right now, Tom. If I'm trying to run an effective office, I've got a team of talented agents out there and a big, broad, expansive support team to help me do what I do better. If you're thinking 3, 6, 9 months down the path, knowing that you're going to have a cash flow situation there and then, and you're making the decisions that you need to make today, and that is getting yourself lean, trimming away the unnecessary fat, making those decisions, it's difficult because a lot of these people aren't going to be able to go out there and get that JobKeeper allowance.
Yes. Now, can I ask you, other things that came up during the week, I read one of the articles and it's been hot off the topic. I mean, the hottest trending topic in real estate has to have been residential and commercial landlords in the sector that REB operates and in the sector that I operate, which has got a more resi feel to it. It's been the biggest issue. The government announced $220 million. It was announced off the top of my head on the Monday, which was the long weekend this week. $220 million. $440 was the total amount, but $220 million was allocated to the state government, that is New South Wales. $220 million if a tenant was able to show that they had suffered more than 25% distress to their income. That's Phil. I've got to tell you, I know that you're a landlord, and I know that you love property investment. And to all the people that are watching this live or on replay, I know that they've got a strong feeling that a lot of tenants were being opportunistic and taking advantage of it. Even today, I was talking to someone who told me they're very disappointed with a friend of theirs who said that his income only got reduced by 10%. He was a tenant and he pretty much contacted the office and he tried to get a 60% saving off his rent. So he really didn't get that impacted. Yeah, what do you think, Phil?
I get a bit angry about it sometimes, Tom. And when I look at this, let's look at the intent of the government is to try and keep jobs intact as much as possible and making sure that too many Australians are put into unnecessary financial stress. Now, I get the sentiment between giving people a bit of a break if they've lost their income. I'm a landlord. I've got a considerable portfolio. I work right across mortgages and obviously in real estate. I hear these same stories. There's a person in a block that I live within who negotiated a 50% reduction in their rent, moved back at home with their parents, right, and charged or sublet that same apartment out to backpackers who couldn't get back to England for the full freight plus a bit of a margin. So capitalising on other people's misfortune. And I think about that poor landlord. So federal rules and regulations of when and how you can actually deliver some breaks to some people who are struggling right now. And I get it. And I'm getting the calls coming in now from my landlords around what's happening with rent reductions. And I'll give it where it's due. But if you look at any of the documentation, any of the recommendations and any of the requirements coming out of the government, they're saying this doesn't necessarily mean that debt goes away. It's still got to sit on your ledger at a point in time, particularly in New South Wales. Queensland's doing other stuff. You're going to have to pay at some point. My personal view as a landlord, but also someone that employs a whole bunch of people, the JobKeeper allowance is there to support people meet their requirements. Now, I've worked in property investment for a long time. You work in property for a long time. You know how they say that saying, Tom? Save for a rainy day. Guess what? Where we are right now, it's a rainy day. If you're maxed on your credit cards, if you've got store cards, if you've got personal loans, if you've got car loans, if you're completely maxed out across the whole of your financial life, and the only place you can get break is for a landlord to give you a reduction in their rent, you've got to take responsibility for your own outcome. So credit where credit's due. I think landlords need to negotiate, and this is what this story that we did here. Be fair, be reasonable, and the government is encouraging that, but don't take the piss.
Yeah, and I think before we get any, because I mean, a lot of these videos have been shared around over the last 3 weeks I've been doing, and I get a lot of tenants that have got strong opinions, and they make some outlandish comments. You guys are, you're training agents to actually exploit tenants. It's actually the opposite. What we want to do, and what I think the government wants to do, is to actually find out who's really suffering and help them, and who's actually trying to manipulate the system. And the issue is that some of the people that are going to suffer if people don't do it. And I think one of the things that Scott Morrison said that was good, he said, there is no bosses. We're all Australians in this. So everyone's sort of chipping in, right? So what does that mean? If you're a tenant and life's good for you, don't go off and create havoc, and press the share button if you agree with me, people that are watching this. If you're a tenant that's got genuine problems, it's simple. You actually go off, you get your forms printed, you get a letter from your employer, you go to your agent and say, here it is. Here's my situation. I'm not bullshitting, right? They can work. And I think you're going to find landlords want to work with those people because the rental market's not great. They don't want the tenant to sort of go. They'd rather work with them. And then, as you said, Bill, there's the sad landlord scenarios. The girls and guys that unfortunately have been made redundant, they've got an investment property, they still owe money on their personal mortgage, they own money on an investment property, and they've been made redundant, and they're in a tough situation. And we'll get Tom into the buying opportunities for people right now on the property investment side, but when I look at this situation, it's going to show those people who were redlining it and were probably operating a little bit beyond where they should have been, is whether they're property investors or whether they're tenants. It's become really clear that you need to look after your housekeeping irrespective of the market. Point number one. Point number two, real estate agents, particularly property managers, have a real opportunity now to cement their service proposition to property investors. Now, I'm getting some stuff coming through where some agents and some property managers are being very proactive in communicating with tenants. And I think sometimes unnecessarily, because I think there's this fuel of the media right now, which is giving maybe some misinformation around, hey, you don't have to pay rent for 6 months. Hey, happy days. Don't worry about it. These evil landlords over here, they've got heaps of money. They're rich. Let's remember that 8.8% of all Australians have an interest in an investment property, according to the ATO. That's a big chunk of Australia who have
their own obligations to meet. Now, the argument saying that, well, the banks are happy enough to give you a holiday on your mortgages for your investment properties. That's fine, but then you're paying interest on interest, so no one really benefits from that. I think you need clear and concise communication come out of the government. I think when they initially put this policy information out, it was a bit light. They should have maybe got a little bit more meat beyond it, because you had a lot of misinformation around it after they delivered it. Now, there's a bit of a catch-up right now trying to recalibrate exactly where it sits. But if you don't need rental relief, don't take rental relief. You're just causing greater issue to the economy right now. And it's got this domino environment we're in right now. It's going to take us a lot longer to recover from it.
The Trident Formula, created by Sam Gordon at Australian Property Scout, is the strategic way to build a profitable property portfolio. If you're looking to perfect your strategy, go to www.australianpropertyscout.com.au to book a call with Sam himself.
Now, Phil, I've noticed, so it originally started with Scott Morrison saying there won't be, there'll be an eviction freeze for 6 months. And he sort of, he's done a good job, but he left that sort of out there to be interpreted any way people wanted. And then the states have come and picked up the detail, and the states have done their own things, Any views on that? I mean, some of the states have done more than others.
Well, real estate's very, very much a state-dominated legislative industry. So I expect the states to come forward. Now, you think about how the states generate most of their income, right? It's stamp duty, it's land tax, etc. So a lot of it is real estate orientated. Now, as a property investor, and I think of everything. What does it mean for our communities, whether they're real estate agents or mortgage brokers? But what does it mean for me as Phil Tarrant, a landlord? What does it mean for Phil Tarrant as someone that runs a business, right? And I sit there and I start thinking, well, there's not that many breaks coming my way in the big scheme of things, because I'm not as distressed as other people. And you know what? That's a fortunate position to be in. And I'll maneuver and I'll navigate my way around it. But my view is that the states need to be more practical in how they can deliver this relief, giving tax, land tax relief over a period of time on a basis that I can prove that there's been a percentage drop in my income because I'm not receiving this information, the money coming in from tenants. It's so hard. It's so hard to prove. It's administratively very, very difficult. It's going to take a long time for that to flow through. So to actually get your hands on any of these, benefits coming out of the government, it's a considerable exercise. My view, the way I'm wired, is that just sort it out, work it out, reduce your costs, work harder, drive more revenue, drive more money, work on your mortgages, increase your cash flow. These are the positive things that you should be doing anyway. This might just be the catalyst to have a closer look at these things. And I think real estate agents and property managers go a long way to supporting people with that sort of advice.
Phil, I want to talk to you about a story that the advisor carried. Concerns raised over unconditional approvals on Wednesday, the 15th of April. Now, concerns have now been raised by brokers regarding loans that have been unconditionally approved but not yet settled. Okay, well, that's concerning. So the buyer's done the deal, and it's an unconditional approval, and particularly for those Australian buyers who may have been granted an unconditional approval on their mortgage but have since seen a change in their work hours or job security. You'd be stressed if you're there, wouldn't you?
Oh, you'd be really worried, and whether or not the lenders is going to honour that pre-approval. Now, you got to remember also is that once you actually purchase a property, it goes through the checks and balances and valuations to make sure that the pre-approval stacks up, and therefore you do have the financial capacity to service that mortgage. Now, a lot of people went out there and got pre-approvals thinking about, before COVID-19, it was a real estate market, and you can talk more authoritatively than I can on this, that was very active. There was a lot of buyers out there scrambling for properties. There wasn't a lot of stock on market. It was a great time to be a seller. That's completely turned on its head right now. So you're going to see a retraction in people in the market, but as a property investor right now, to actually be armed with a pre-approval and you have the confidence that you can go out there and secure that mortgage based on some of these real estate deals coming in, you are competitively, you have such an advantage over everyone else. It's just whether or not you want to stump up that opportunity, and you're not too sure what be happening with your income moving forward. How secure is your job? What sort of buffers do you have? Is it a good time to be buying, Tom? And they always say, you're an auctioneer, that, the people that work and get the best prices at auctions are those that bid with confidence, knowing that the money is in the bank, right?
Well, listen, Phil, I've got a motto. When I'm auctioning a property, the best time to buy a property in real estate is the day that I'm there at the auction. That's the motto, right? So that's the interesting one, because I actually think at the moment, for those that are watching it here, that are opportunistic investors that are actually smelling for the opportunity. And there's a small group of people that have got the resources. They had kept a buffer of income. They weren't mortgaged to the hill, and they had kept money in the bank. And, one of the great things that I learned as an investor is sometimes when you got cash in the bank, Phil, people might laugh and say, hey, you're only getting 1.5%, 2%. But the real value comes when you execute that money, when the opportunity is there. So it's not the fact that you've probably been getting a lower yield than what you could have. It's the opportunity cost that you've got to actually take advantage of distressed selling. Now, we've seen the share market, Phil, sort of drop and sort of a rebound. I think it went down 35%. It's probably come back 15. I don't track it every day. But the issue for real estate investors now is do they buy now where there's a bit of fear and uncertainty in the market, or do they wait? And do they buy when there's more certainty? But the issue, of course, is when there's more certainty, the markets move, because markets move faster than people do. And what happens is when people try and time the market, what actually happens is they think to themselves, let's buy, right, when we see there's a bit of confidence. But what happens is you've missed it by then. You've missed it, because what happens is the only way you can tell the market has bottomed is when it's actually moved a little bit, right? And so the issue is that, yes, there are opportunities. I don't know. I'm not putting my neck out on the line to say whether now's the best time. Some people are saying that, real estate has bottomed. Others are saying it's going to drop 20, 30%. Do you have a view on it? And I'm not going to hold you to it, because I know no one's got a monopoly on the truth.
Tom, I'm just a journalist, mate. My job is to communicate what other people say to me. I don't have opinions, right? I'm not supposed to. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right, but I'm a property investor, so I'll give you my opinion.
Propertyology regards right now as a very exciting time for investing in Australian real estate. There are some fantastic opportunities that Propertyology can help you take advantage of before buyers re-emerge from their coronavirus cocoons. Propertyology has a national focus. Now more than ever, experience and knowledge are the most valuable currency. Propertyology has that in spades. To find out how Propertyology's multi-award-winning buyers agents can help you prosper, contact them now at propertyology.com.au.
Okay, let's talk, Tom, about this great asset class called real estate.
Yes.
How good is it? You go back over 100 years, since 200 years, when the first fleet arrived here, people over generations have made a lot of money out of real estate. And what's the reason why? Because it's safe as houses, right? There's a good reason why it's got that monkey around it. Now, let's look at this market we're in right now for COVID-19. Let's go back 1 year, right? Last year, tale of two halves, Tom. First 6 months, no one knew what was going on. Markets weren't operating very well. Real estate agents with their heads in their hands. No one knew what was going to happen with the election. It stifled the market. There was some good buying for smart people then. Election happens, confidence, understanding around negative gearing, CGT, some certainty around what the government's going to look like in 4 years' time, because they said that they won't swap out the Prime Minister. So that's all good, both sides of the house, all really nice. Backside of 2019, good times for sellers, because there was a lot of buyers out there looking for getting in the market who have been stifled for quite some time. Running into the first part of this year, not a bad time to be selling property. Great time to be a real estate agent, the good agents. COVID-19 hits, everyone puts their heads in a hand, it stops everything. Now, this next period of time, there's a handful of people are going to make a lot of money out of real estate. And they're the people that you just described around cash buffers, good cash flow, set, ready to go, pre-approvals in place, job certainty, keep listing them. If you're one of those people, I'd be definitely looking at real estate right now. Absolutely. Now, a whole bunch of other people are probably going to make a little bit of money out of real estate right now, because they might have been a bit more cautious, waited their time, get into the market a little bit later on. But this asset class called real estate, now look at what the government has done. They haven't intervened and tried to support other asset classes. You don't see them saying, oh, your wine collection's gone down 25%. let's try and help you out, or let's try and take a little bit of debt off that. Look at the share market. You don't see a lot of stuff coming out of that. Real estate, and this is a message for property investors, it's a message for mortgage brokers, and it's a message for real estate agents and property managers as well. The government wants real estate in Australia to achieve and keep driving forward. The banks are highly invested in real estate in Australia. Real estate is always going to have a huge oversight from the government, so huge oversight from the regulators, and the banks are highly connected in making sure that the values of real estate in Australia continue to thrive. What a great asset class, Tom.
It is. And Phil, here's the reason why people are going to write comments and say, oh, typical guy, he's supporting real estate. But I'm looking at facts. I think the reason why property prices won't actually drop or drop too much is because there won't be forced sellers at the moment. And the reason why, Phil, is that unemployment, whilst it'll grow, you've still got the government that's actually gone off and paying people $750 a week to keep their job, right? You also have the banks that are saying, don't pay us your loan now. No problem. 6 months, no problems. So you don't have... I've actually spoke to someone today. He said, Tom, I'm better off at the moment in terms of cash flow because I rang up my bank. They freeze my payments. I've got my $750 coming in. My employer's topped my salary. Mate, I've got an investment property. My tenant hasn't asked for a discount. They're working for the public service. Life's good. I'm actually enjoying being at home. He says, I actually don't want this to end at the moment. And I actually think what will happen, Phil, is you're spot on. You've got the government working in cahoots with the banks and making it very, very hard for distressed sales to take place. But I do think that there's going to be some sector of the market, and it could be people, particularly people, Phil, that have been linked to the share market, that have got a lot of their financial wealth linked to the share market, right? What happens is they psychologically feel poorer, right? They might have had $5 million worth of shares. Now they're worth, 3.5, 3.2. And what's happening is people like that might offload a kind of property, the Central Coast getaway property that they were using, the Byron Bay unit that they had, some of those things might come on the market. I think it's a good opportunity for people. I've got to tell you, I'm looking. Are you looking, Phil?
Absolutely. But to your point earlier, Tom, I've kept cash ready to go, waiting for a rainy day, right? Making sure I've got these buffers, but that's working for me pretty well right now in offsets. So these are the strategies and the tactics that mortgage brokers right now need to be thinking about working with their clients, how they can keep their cash liquid. So when these opportunities come up, I've been caught in the idea of a holiday home for a little while. Maybe it's my time, right? These things are going to start coming online, but it's more about mindset. Well, it's as much about mindset as what it is your financial capacity. You can choose to sit there and be the merchant of doom and gloom and look for the negatives and everything, or you can be proactive and smart and prepared and engaged and look for those opportunities. And you know what? Only yourself gets to make the decision how they see the world.
Yeah. Well, I've got to say, Phil, I think there is going to be a bit of a shift the way people work. I think we're Zooming. I think there'll be a few corporates that'll be Zooming. And I actually think there's a possibility some of these coastal areas where people can actually work from home a little bit more might actually end up having a little bit of a rise. And the reason I say it is if they're going to be able to work 2 or 3 days from home, they might end up, spending time in Avoca Beach or Terrigal. They travel to work. They do their Zoom meetings from home. So there's that possibility. But we're going to spend time every week, Bill, talking about, real estate, money, wealth, mortgages, even just your simple concept there. Like a lot of people should have actually had their excess cash sitting into a redraw facility. They would have had the best of both worlds, paying no interest to the bank right now and having the luxury of not having to go get a bank approval to actually go buy another property because they had cash available there for them. And they're the ones that are going to probably maximise the current opportunities in the market. I know what's coming up in the next couple of weeks. We're going to talk about it in the next week or two. You've got REB Top 100. That's going to be announced when in the next 2 weeks?
Yeah, Tuesday week. So I know the numbers, Tom. I've seen it, and the report's getting prepared right now. So really interesting stuff. There is a big milestone this year in the top 10, which I was really quite happy to see. And I've been doing a lot of work on it. I can't wait to release that. It's 8 years that now REB Top 100 Agents has been that benchmark ranking. And, it's nice to know, and I see it in financial reports even for some of those listed entities, that a lot of real estate agents, when they sit down and do their business planning for the year coming, they'll say, I want to be an REB Top 100 agent.
Well, I've got to tell you, I live real estate. My life is real estate agents, and a lot of the emails I receive from my clients down the bottom, and I'm proud of them. I'm proud of, most of the REB Top 100 agents, and that's why I was delighted to actually work in with you, are real estate gym members or involved in the real estate gym. And they're proud. They actually have it on the bottom of their emails, REB, number 73 or REB number 5. Some of them actually even take up about 7 sentences. They've put every REB award in there. They do value it. They see it as being the NRL ladder, if you would like to call it, of real estate. Other things that are coming up in the news is we're going to have a look at what the other states are doing in terms of rental relief. These are all being done by the states. Commentary on current potential and state and federal government policies relating to COVID-19. We're going to keep looking at the effectiveness of JobKeeper and how it's going to affect rentals and landlords. So I look forward to seeing you next week and catching up. And I might just hand over to you, and we might see what your final words are on, overall. What are you seeing overall, Phil?
What I'm seeing overall, it's two different type of people in this current market. It's those that are sitting there and going to be victims of it, and it's going to be those that are sitting there and they're going to excel and thrive through it. So, it's an ongoing, minute by minute mental juggle for most people to actually keep positive in markets where it's easy to be negative. So, we're very fortunate in Australia, and I think of real estate and I think of mortgages in particular, but what a cracking group of professionals that are delivering value to people who are looking for a mortgage and people who are looking to transact property, whether that's owner-occupiers or investors. It is the asset class to be part of. It's the asset class that is the backbone of the nation. And for me, I get a real kick out of actually having this distribution vehicle across, both of mortgages through the advisor and also real estate through real estate business and property investment. And Tom, I reckon we've done pretty well here for a couple of guys who sort of know each other pretty well. And, we spent a bit of time together. I reckon for the first cab off the rank for what's making headlines, we've done a pretty decent job here. But, I'm all for feedback and comment. We're in the hands of our viewers and our audiences, and we'll put this also on the Secrets Top 100 Agents podcast and the Smart Property Investment Show podcast. So we're going to have tens and tens of thousands of people tuning into this, Tom, and it's great. But we've got a great responsibility in that to making sure that we're representative of our community. So they've got to get in touch with us and let us know. What's the best contact point? Probably you?
Well, look, if they just, in the comments below on Facebook is a fast feedback we get from people. That's probably the fastest way. As we develop this, we'll create an environment where we can interact with people. Now, Phil, I'm going to finish on that point. That's the thing that I want people to know, that when they're tuning in with us on these conversations, I want to leave on this point. A client of mine said to me the other day, he said, Tom, you never waste a good crisis. He said, you know what it's like? It's like the flight has landed in Dubai. There have been people sitting in business class, economy, and first class. And all of a sudden you get out of the plane and there's a bus. It's the bus that takes people from the plane to the terminal. You ever been there, Phil? When you get out of a plane, you all squash in. It says that's what COVID-19's like. It doesn't matter where you were sitting. It doesn't matter where your business was. It doesn't matter who you were. What matters is who you've got to become, because it's equalized everyone. The disruption that COVID-19 has created, for some people, they're sitting there and they're thinking about what they lost. But we're going to be teaching people about what's available to gain and what the opportunity is. And I think that people can have an incredible future based on what's just happened.
I completely agree with you, Tom. And look, we're on your side. We want to make sure that we can help build the most real estate and mortgage market globally here in Australia. And we're fortunate that we have that pedigree. So anyone can come and have a chat with me. You can contact me across any of our brands. we'll give you that voice. Get engaged, get connected. Let's share this. Let's share the narrative. Let's make the narrative, Tom. And, it's all about people getting in touch and connected. And, I think all that COVID-19's done, it's accelerated where we were going to end up in 5 or 10 years' time in terms of a connected, digitally connected community of people who are all striving towards the same thing.
All right, Phil. Phil Tarrant, thank you so much for Momentum Media. See you next week.
Nice one. Thanks, mate.
Thanks a lot.
I hope you enjoyed that. So I really enjoyed recording it. It's on every single Thursday, 1:30 live across Facebook if you want to tune in. It's either on Smart Property Investment Facebook page, or you can follow on Tom Panos as well. We'll be there. We'll be covering it. Let us know what you think. Happy to answer your questions with Tom as well as we navigate real estate. Remember to check out smartpropertyinvestment.com.au. If you're not yet subscribing to our daily morning bulletin, you can do that on the website. Social media, Smart Property HQ. We'll see you again next time. Until then, bye-bye.
The information featured in this podcast is general in nature and does not take into consideration your financial situation or individual needs and should not be relied upon. Before making any investment, insurance, tax, property or financial planning decision, you should consult a licensed professional who can advise whether your decision is appropriate for you. Guests appearing on this podcast may have a commercial relationship with the companies mentioned.
The Trident Formula, created by Sam Gordon at Australian Property Scout, is the strategic way to build a profitable property portfolio. If you're looking to perfect your strategy, go to www.australianpropertyscout.com.au to book a call with Sam himself.